Hello guys, T-Krat here, and today, I wanted to make a deep dive into the not-so-popular Adobe Flash cartoon series known as Eskimo Bob, and before we start, I would like to give credit to the website TV Tropes, as for about 1/4 of all of the information in this video comes from this one website. Shout out to them. Anyways, Eskimo Bob is basically this extremely unpopular franchise that contains 57 episodes, 2 video games, and 1 short, but for the majority of the video, the main focus here is all the episodes. So without further ado, let's get started. So for starters, the first episode aired in January of 2001, while the latest episode, episode 57, aired somewhere in 2013, which is a 12-year gap for all 50-plus episodes. And a crazy fact is, nearly half of all the episodes actually aired specifically in the year 2001, which totally blew my mind. Anyways, the entire series is about these two friends, Eskimo Bob and Alfonso, that hang out and do all sorts of stuff together in the Arctic. They also tend to interact with the animals that live with them, such as a walrus, seal, fish, and others. And yeah, that's pretty much the baseline of the entire series, but the plot extends way beyond those tiny details. There's also antagonists, yes, literal antagonists. And there's a surprising amount of them. Examples of these antagonists are the Yeti, the Penguin, Michael Sam's, also known as the Businessman, and Yuck. Oh, and there's also this stupid leprechaun that only appeared in like 2 episodes. What a waste. Anyways, all of these antagonists expand the series differently, but greatly, and even makes Eskimo Bob's story more interesting. And on top of all that, there's also these rare episodes that only happen once every 13 episodes. They are called big event episodes, and this is because, every 13 episodes, a big event happens, and usually, the event episode is way longer than the other episodes near it. For example, episode 13 is 4 minutes long, while the episodes before and after it are 1 to 2 minutes long, and all the other big event episodes are even longer. And one more thing, I obviously can't explain every single episode individually with full detail, so I'll just briefly, but not too briefly, summarize all the big event episodes. And since there's only 57 episodes in total, that means there's only 4 big event episodes since they only happen every 13 episodes. Anyways, the 13 big event episodes are episode 13, episode 26, episode 39, and episode 52. Let's begin. Episode 13 starts with Alfonso losing his stick. They try looking for it, but then the Yeti confronts them, so the seal comes and hits the Yeti with a bat. The Yeti then wakes up and rushes to the cave where he tells a mysterious figure that a seal hit him with a bat. The mysterious figure then gets angry and kidnaps the seal out of pure rage. Then, the walrus tells Eskimo Bob and Alfonso that the seal was kidnapped. They then rush to the cliff, where they find out that Penguin was the one that stole Alfonso's stick. They ask for it back, but then, the Penguin snaps the stick in half and throws it into the water. Alfonso gets angry and evolves into a more powerful being, and then starts attacking the Penguin without hesitation. But the Penguin fights back and knocks out Alfonso. Then Eskimo Bob gets mad and creates a fish that he then uses to attack the Penguin. Then the both start attacking each other violently, but in the end, the Penguin loses and everything goes back to normal. Episode 12 starts with Alfonso being abducted by a UFO, followed by Eskimo Bob. The two then meet the alien businessmen, that soon create clones out of Eskimo Bob and Alfonso. The clones are sent to Earth where meet a girl. The two clones then combine to create a new, more powerful clone. The girl fights the clone and defeats it. Then the real Eskimo Bob and Alfonso are sent back to Earth. But then, back on the UFO, Sam's and the Penguin team up and are sent back to Earth to fight Eskimo Bob. But then, Alfonso and the girl join the fight and watches Sam's and the Penguin combine into a stronger being, but is then abducted by the UFO and everyone back on Earth wins. Episode 39 starts with Yuck kidnapping the walrus by bringing it to his secret lair. Later Eskimo Bob finds Yuck's lair and eventually escapes. Then, Alfonso finds Yuck's lair and meanwhile, Eskimo Bob confronts Yuck and his clones. Then, Yuck and his clones combine into a giant version of Yuck, and then it flies to space and goes right next to the sun. Then the sun burns the giant Yuck to a crisp. Meanwhile Alfonso escaped the lair and the episode ends with bird poop everywhere. Episode starts with Eskimo Bob transforming into Bobzilla. Meanwhile, at Ottawa, Goatbread warns the people of Ottawa that a monster is approaching Earth. The people of Ottawa then warn their leader about the monster. Meanwhile, Bobzilla is wrecking the Ottawa clock tower, and when the leader finds out, he announces that Bobzilla must be destroyed. Later, the monster that Goatbread was talking about crashes into Earth and reveals itself as Yagura. Later, Goatbread's leader threatens everyone into surrendering. The leader of Otto is shocked by this. Later, Yagura attacks Bobzilla, and the both end up in a fight. Then, Alan joins the fight and attacks Yagura. Then Penguin also joins the fight and attacks Alan. Meanwhile, Bob is being attacked by Yagura, but then, Alan saves Bobzilla at the last second. Right after that, Yagura and Penguin team up to fight Alan and Bobzilla, but then, Bobzilla ejects them out of Earth and destroys the UFO, for them to win. Alright, that's all of the big event episodes explained. Now I'll cover the fun facts that surround these 4 episodes. First off, episode 13 is the shortest big event episode, and was the first episode to have more than one antagonist. One of the antagonists, the Penguin, debuted in this episode, and the Penguin was actually in every big event episode except episode 39. Next, episode 26 was not only the long big event episode, but it's also the longest episode in the entire series, spanning 12 minutes. And back in the day, you could only watch Eskimo Bob on a website called Newgrounds, and VHS, even though only the first 18 episodes were on VHS, which actually includes the first big event episode, episode 13. But anyways, on Newgrounds, videos took an absurd amount of time to load, and the longest episode, episode 26, took way longer to load than it took to watch, as you can see in this comment.
I remember waiting nearly an hour for the Flash to load this episode up, but it would always be incredibly worth it. Thank you so much.
Now if you ask me, that was pretty straightforward. Now moving on, episode 39 wasn't really that special, but we learn more about the character Yak, and his intentions, and even though he died at the end, he still appears in later episodes. In fact, he's one of the antagonists in the last big event episode, episode 52, which I'll talk about now. Anyways, this episode is actually the second longest episode in the series, behind episode 26, and even with that, there's still a 3-minute gap in length between these two. But about the episode itself, it contains probably the last antagonists in the series, Goatbread and his leader, who basically run the whole episode, but they both die at the end, so who cares? And finally, I'm done talking about the big event episodes, but there's still more to the series than just that. There's also these episodes that are even rarer than the big event episodes. So basically, there are these French versions of Eskimo Bob and Alfonso, and they have their own episodes that are entirely in French and take place in France, rather than the usual English Arctic episodes. These special versions only appear in 4 episodes total. In 2 of them, the episodes are fully French, while in the other 2, Eskimo and Alfonso's French versions are only background characters. Now even though the franchise is extremely unpopular, there's still some few fans that commented a long time ago, and as I was reading some of the comments, I found this pretty long message from episode 2, and find it hilarious. Take a listen.
Late at night in 2001, I was browsing Newgrounds and clicked on this cartoon. It took a couple of minutes to load, so I started doing something else while I was waiting and forgot about it. When the original Flash animation finished loading, it whistled the doo-doo-doo-doo-oo tune and you had to click on a button to actually start the video. It was probably past midnight. Everyone else in my house had long since gone to bed. I was just a kid alone in a dark, silent room. When I heard that whistling, my blood ran cold. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. I was frozen in complete terror, just waiting for the whistler to emerge from the shadows and kill me. The seconds slowly passed, feeling more like minutes to me from all the adrenaline. Then I suddenly realized it was just Eskimo Bob. All that fear was quickly replaced with laughter and embarrassment at my own stupidity. It's been 20 years, but I'll never be able to forget this silly little cartoon because of that.
Don't worry, that will be the last comment I'll read for this video. Anyways, there's also hidden details that are related to the episodes themselves. For example, there's no episode 31, the series goes like 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, 33 and so on. They completely skipped the episode entirely. Now this was probably a mistake by the creators, or maybe they're just hiding it from us, who knows? And as for the other hidden details, it's really just the fact that the intro changes a lot. No, seriously, it changes literally all the time. And then there's this little detail that's related to episode 40. As you can see, the title of the video is quote-unquote, the most Canadian episode ever, which I could argue that episode 52 is more Canadian, considering the fact that most of the episodes takes place in Ottawa, which is literally located in Canada, and episode 40 is less than a minute long, while episode 52 is over 9 minutes long, so I would say that it's more Canadian. And as for the rest of the characters, I really don't have anything else to say about them, except for one single character that is actually my favorite in the entire series, and that character is none other than the fish in the spaceship. Yes, you heard me right, but hear me out real quick. This character has so much personality and energy. He is just so funny and I can't get enough of him. He's not afraid to say anything to anyone about themselves. He's not an antagonist, not a protagonist, and he's not even an ally to Eskimo Bob or Alfonso. He's just there to roast everyone and make us laugh. And he's, overall, an awesome neutral side character. Oh, and one more thing, a surprising amount of the 57 episodes are Christmas episodes, about 6 of them to be exact. The episodes in particular are episodes 20, 30, 44, 50, 56, and 57. That's over a tenth of all Eskimo Bob episodes. Alright guys, now remember near the beginning of the video when I told you about the 57 episodes, 2 video games, and 1 short? Well, I've talked about the episodes quite enough already, so now I feel like it's time to talk about the video games and the short. I'll start with the video games now. So basically, after episode 57 of Eskimo Bob, the creators stopped making episodes for some reason, but instead of just leaving the franchise to slowly rot and die out, the creators made not 1, but 2 video games to keep us interested. I never thought in a million years that this old Flash cartoon would have its own video game, let alone 2. The first of these video games is titled Eskimo Bob, which is a 2D pixel game that was made in 2017 for the NDS. While the second video game is titled Alfonso's Arctic Adventure, made in 2019 for Steam users. And now, on to the short. So basically, this small video that's in between 1 and 2 minutes long, was created in between episodes 56 and 57, and despite the short not being an official episode, it still has the same Eskimo Bob intro as all of the other episodes. And the short itself is just Fenwood, a character that I did not talk about yet, arguing with Eskimo Bob and Alfonso about animals for some reason. The short isn't really that special, but it's not considered an episode by the creators, so I talked about it separately from the real Eskimo Bob episodes. Now before I get to the outro, I just wanted to point out that Eskimo Bob could have had a reboot. Yes, you heard me right, a real reboot with episodes and everything. It started off as a Kickstarter, but it unfortunately didn't reach its goal, and only exists as a trailer. Alright guys, I'm pretty much done explaining Eskimo Bob for this video, and before I end it, I would like to give a huge shout out to the creators of Eskimo Bob, and everyone who worked on the series, because all of it led to the making of this video. I honestly think that Eskimo Bob is a really underrated franchise, and deserves more recognition. Eskimo Bob is so unpopular in fact, that when you search it up, the only things you'll find are the official episodes, and I hope that my video shows up alongside them. Overall a pretty good series for an abode Flash cartoon, and if I made any mistakes throughout this video, don't hesitate to correct me in the comments. This is Tikrat, signing off.